Welcome to Simon on the Sofa. Another beautiful, transparent conversation for you all. Today I'm with the lovely Clare Russell. Hello, Clare.
Good morning.
Good morning, yes, indeed. I bring you, just so you guys know, I bring the singing bowl into these talks really to center the room and center myself and really connect me to this space. Before the video came on, we just did a beautiful meditation ourselves, and really so that we bring you ourselves completely authentic and completely transparent as we know how to be at this point in evolution. So I've been looking forward to this talk. Met Clare, well, we've met today, but we've spoken a few times on the telecommunications that we all use nowadays. That's the mobile phones for people that are unaware. Or Skype maybe. So yeah, so we spoke about maybe planning something or sort of sticking to something, but we haven't. We
haven't done that.
No, we've not decided that. That's not been the natural path. So I'm just going to ask Clare, what's on your mind? What's on your mind at this point in time? And I think that will.
We'll see where it goes.
Lead us somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the singing bowl actually, and what you were saying in the presencing and being in this moment, and that how that's so important at the beginning of anything that we do. Like whether I'm running a workshop on intuition or anything, it can be really tempting just to jump in, but to stop and breathe and just take those conscious breaths. And still, I love it and I appreciate it. And thank you for starting like that.
Thank you too, yeah. It's thinking about breath is very very beautiful, because for me it's breath is life. So, and I think we all take breath for example for granted. I've recently been doing some breath work, funnily enough, with a wonderful guy called Leo Thompson. And he's a yogi and he teaches yoga. And funnily enough, talking about jumping in, there's me thinking, hey, you know, do some yoga. I'll be doing asanas in like, you know, a couple of months and all these postures. And I meet him, and we've done, I think, 4 or 5 sessions now. And we've been doing breath work, all about rebirthing, connecting to the breath, releasing the breath, and getting the breath into the whole space of our body, you know, the whole cocoon of what we are as a living, breathing organism. So yeah, so breath for me is taking a whole
multi-dimensional reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's now. Well, I use it as a starting place for a lot of people, and also with the chakras as well, because it's when you're breathing, it's constantly moving, it's constantly changing, and it's always now. Yeah,
totally.
So if I can be with that breath, then I'm much more present. And I start off by sometimes just asking people to be conscious of their breath, and that we breathe all day, breathing in, breathing out, fine, 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 and then we take 3 conscious breaths, and the entire room does this.
Just changes.
It changes.
And grounds.
And grounds. And I look up and there's just a stillness for everyone. And so I come back to it again and again and again. Breathing into the heart, we do a lot as well. Breathing into the heart center. And to start with, when I was doing that, I thought, oh, people are going to find that weird, to breathe in and out of their heart. There's no place to breathe. But hugely powerful every single time. It's just stilling and
just focusing, isn't it? Because then that's the concentration. Because once you concentrate, you know, it's all about just concentrating that breath into different parts of your body, and then allowing it. More importantly, is that it's the acceptance of the breath. Because if you associate breath to life, and I associate life to love, So I encapsulate the three as one, you know, one thing. If you want to call it love, life, breath, whatever. It's all you know, the one thing for me, the collective. And if you really, and Leo's helped me with this immensely, is that then if you see, because I've been working on blocks and you know, programming and releasing conditioning, and then that goes through a process of stripping away, which I'm sure you've been on a journey of that yourself. So you know, you're stripping away these layers of almost, I call them dysfunction or pain or you know, just blocks, you know, resistances. And then I realised through Leo, you then have to do that with your breath.
Yeah.
So you're talking first, you're almost doing it, say, with your head, then you're doing it with your body, then you're doing it with your mind being encapsulated in your whole experience. And then it's like, it's filtering down. Then it's like your breath. And then I was like, man, my breath's even got blocks.
Yeah. That's the point. I mean, that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the breath.
Yeah, it was the source of it.
Yeah, talking about getting the breath into the groin, you know, out of, because most people that I realised, and I mean, I realised this from fitness, because I mean,
you can't breathe if you're running from here.
Right, exactly. And when you're teaching people to breathe, because I'm from my personal training experience, you say to people all the time, put your, you know, and from acting as well, yeah, put your hands here. You've done that one. Yeah. Put your hands low and breathe into your back. And I know Pedro as well, funny enough, does Pilates, and it's all about, again, breathing into the areas of the body and allowing the breath to do the movement, as it were. And then you take that into massage, which I've done as well, and the massage is about breathing, releasing, and so on. So it's really powerful when you just connect to that breath, because you do connect to your experience now. So it's, you know, it's just wonderful.
I like the allowing piece as well.
Yeah.
That you were saying, that I can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. If I actually just stop and breathe and allow myself to receive it, everything slows down a lot and I can just be a lot more relaxed. Right, so we're starting talking now and I'm feeling a little bit nervous because I've not done the camera thing before, and so it's nice to be able to start with the breath and start with that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, you know, if we can just be aware of that, imagine the shift, like you're saying about in the group scenario, you've seen the shift in energy come down, and then imagine if you just individually, because I'm all about, you know, the self and the self-love and so on, just individually take that time to breathe. Because people very much, we talk about meditation and we talk about you know, chakras, or we talk about healing, or we talk about all these different ways to connect. It's very scary for some people, isn't it? You know, you talk about intuition, and I know your belief is very much that, you know, we're all intuitive and so on. Yeah. But, you know, why do you think that? Why do you think it's scary to breathe? Because it is, isn't it?
Where you breathe, you have life. So if there's places where you don't want to give it life, and you want it to be dead, actually, you don't want that part of you want it to be numb, you don't want to feel something there, then you don't breathe there. Whereas if you bring life, you breathe into it, you bring life to it initially, and that life has many different flavors.
Yes.
Right, that we can't predict. So you're going to have emotions in that life. And that will also come out in your material world as well, as you start breathing into different places. People won't breathe into places where they have money, for example, because money has lots of issues. So you don't breathe into that area, and then you don't get a flow in that area. All those different things. That would be my feeling. So as you were saying, life, love, breath, it all resonates. So you're willing to bring life to that area of who you are.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Because we actually, and that's why we get blocks within our body, i.e. maybe a lot of people get digestive blocks within the gut. The gut's a massive indicator of blocks within our body. Blocks within our sexuality, within our groin area. The root chakra gets blocked massively. The throat chakra, because a lot of people talk up here, don't they? They're really nervous. They just keep talking and talking and talking. It's okay, yeah, but tomorrow I'll be okay and it'll be fine. And,
please stop.
And that's not a put down on anybody that talks like that, but it's can you see how the energy changed just from going up there?
I can feel that, and I know that in myself as well. I know that feeling. And then when you're, it's like going back to the crystal bowl, your sound gets deeper, your sound gets more resonant. I notice even when I'm like doing meditations on tapes, and I listen back and gosh, my voice was really resonant because I was very, very much in that gentle place.
Yeah, and I get like that, you know, when I get excited sometimes I go, you know, the breath goes all over the place and I'm just like, you know, and I've been, you know, people that know me can be quite, you know, I can be, when I'm excited I can be quite overpowering as well, because again, you go, you almost, you know, you come out of your body at these times, you know, and it's the same if you're introverted sometimes or even anxious and depressed. A lot of people just breathe to here, don't they? And they get really quite nervous and you know, so powerful. So breath is life, like you said. So even just with that awareness,
it makes a huge difference. So on the throat chakra, for example, sometimes when I start running a section on the throat chakra, I'll get people to breathe through their mouth, the whole thing. So just sit there and you actually drop your jaw. It's actually quite hard to drop your jaw and just go.
Yeah, hold it there.
And you just feel, because we're here, but to go and let that whole area relax, it immediately brings up emotions just through the breath.
Yeah, powerful. And it's funny because with Leo again, I've been working on blocks that have come in the stomach area, and then we do like a vocal. I don't know if you've done rebirthing before, but you do like a vocal chanting sound, as it were, and you're, you know, releasing through sound as well, because you're very much into sound as well, aren't you? Can tell us about that in a minute. And yeah, and that vocalization, the presence that comes from releasing that and then allowing the breath. You know, for example, when I was laying on the floor, and when I breathed, you can imagine like an ocean pulsating, and I was laid there, eyes closed, after this releasing. And you may get it if you've done before, if anybody listening has done yoga before, like you do a whole hour of yoga sometimes, and then at the end there's always that, it's always too short for me, but at the end there's that like 5-10 minutes. What is it called?
Shavasana.
Shavasana, yeah. And you just lay there, don't you? And the body just feels so released, and you know, and that's what, you just sink completely into the floor, and you just feel in this, like, you know, void, don't you? It's wonderful. And that's the same through the breath, is that all of a sudden it was like I was breathing not the size of my body, but very much like,
you can breathe with your whole being.
Yeah.
But some people call it a sponge breath, so that actually you're not just breathing through here, but all of your cells are breathing. And when you can connect to that, you can start, sometimes you can actually need to breathe less through your mouth because all of your cells are breathing. And when you go into a deeper meditation, then you can find your breath almost like it disappears because your being is breathing. Your being is breathing, exactly. And then you don't force it, you just are it. Complete presence of letting go and being. That's nice. Tour of breath. Yeah. So you mentioned you do chakra work. I mean, I've delved a little into, you know, it comes up in a lot of the literature that I read, and so on. Do you want to just sort of talk us through the 7, isn't it? A bit about that. Well, there's thousands actually, but there's the kind of, the main column runs from the base of the spine up to the top of the head, and there's 7 on that column. Yeah. But what was really interesting from what you just said is, I've read quite a lot on the chakras, and a lot of people have read quite a lot on the chakras. Well, not, I'm not. No, please. I totally know what you. Yeah. It's experiencing them. Yes. Because we're thinking about these wheels, are they in my body? Can I experience them directly? What do they mean for me? And so for the most important thing for me is that people get to experience them. So when you're talking about the breath work, that was a real experience for you, and you can go into that, and it's probably going to release different emotions. And then if you go, oh, okay, so if it's here, it's about power. So how am I in my relationship to power? Controlling and yeah. Do I have this easy kind of give and receive with power? Do I feel equal to other people, or are people always more superior or inferior? All of those questions start to come up. But if you can ask them at the same time as having the experience, then your intuition will start to guide you in many ways. So you might start to feel sensations. Okay, that's really tight. Why is that tight? Okay, so if I breathe into it, what will I feel? And then it will start to expand, and Okay, so what does that tightness become? How do I release it? And I think that's where I find it interesting, is it's almost like they're portals for our intuition. It's like a system that we can work with to experience ourselves more deeply on all levels. Body consciousness, I think, is a really good starting place.
So it's the knowingness, so this the knowingness that you get through the different places that are blocked within where the chakras are, for example.
For example, yeah.
Yeah, because it's great what you brought up about the reading, because it's almost like, just for the example, the commercial chakra thing is the 7 chakras, colours of the rainbow. You've got the, you know, your different colours. But recently, when I did, as you know, the Theta course, the 3 days introduction to Theta course, I was saying, well, you know, I think one of the questions I said was, we're going up through our chakras, for example, and it's like, well, what does that feel like? Do I see the colours of the chakras as I'm going up there? Do I feel a different sensation in that area? I can't feel anything in my groin or in my root. Does that mean my chakra's blocked? Do you see what I mean? Can you sort of, it's beautiful what you've said, because it's teaching me as from awareness as you're speaking. So so you're saying there's thousands as well. So is this like the commercial 7?
No, it's a core 7.
It's a core 7. Okay.
Yeah. So if you like, we have the column of energy which runs up and down our spine, and that it's like, what's the right word? It's the energy which charges us. It's like energy that comes through our system, and then there's many, in the same way if you're talking the Chinese system of meridians, or you're talking
like acupuncture, and they all come off.
So there's all over our body. They're little nodes or gateways that allow energy to pass through. Like our hand chakras is another really important one. But then the hand chakras are connected to the heart chakra. So if I'm teaching about the heart chakra or taking people through that journey, I often use hand sensing as a way of intuitively getting to experience the heart chakra. Because if you can sense with your hands and sense with love, it suddenly opens up. And I have some people who come to my workshops have done healing before, but most people haven't. But within half an hour of being really connected to your heart chakra and connecting to your hands, you'll start to be able to feel the energy body instantly. And work with it and understand the little bumps, and all of that information is open to us. And I see the chakras as ways into breathing into all those different parts of our being. So you might not see the red of the root chakra, but you can take a journey with it. So you can breathe into it and say, well, what is there? What do I experience? Do I experience it as heavy, light? Do I see certain colours, certain shapes? Does a word come to me when I focus on breathing in and out of my root chakra? Do I get a sensation anywhere in my body? It doesn't have to be just here. The root chakra, it can have many different connotations, especially your legs, for example. Your legs are all root chakra. So, okay, so have a knee injury. Why don't you tune into that knee injury and see what that's about?
Why is that there?
So I see it as more of a journey, and I use the senses as a way to journey often. So allowing people to connect with each of their senses in turn and see what information is there. Because it's fine to have like the colours, and I think that can be helpful, that almost you can use them as a prompt, as a way in. Or the sounds, so you have the seed syllable sounds, all the different, there's also elements to all the chakras, and all these things are really useful. You can help them to understand them. For example, you were talking a lot about the digestive system, so the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra is seen as the water element, and water is emotion. And this is where we can't digest our emotions often. So what emotions are we not digesting? And that can all be really helpful for people to understand, but at the same time it has to be a real experience. So we go into that centre meditatively often and start to walk around it, however people walk around it. So you'll know if you're more auditory, or you're more visual, or you're more kinesthetic. And you start to understand the 3D world of that chakra, that part of yourself, your emotional centre, your creative centre. What does it look and feel like? What seeds of emotions and seeds of creativity are coming up there? And what sounds, which is what you said as well. Sounds as well, So you can play with your vocal aspect of it as well, can you? Through, for example, chanting or breathing, and then
harmonizing, like, you know, and just like going deep into the gut. Because sometimes we can't get a sound from the gut, can we? You know, then I mean, I'm again working with the sound, is that when you start getting a sound from a gut, it's a completely different, you know, it's a completely different guttural, deep growling sound. Exactly. And Stuart Pearce talks a lot about that, about your signature note, and about really through chanting, through sound healing, sound vibration, really getting through those. You know, really just freeing yourself. So we're talking now, you're talking
into harmony with yourself.
Yeah, coming into harmony with yourself, releasing any blocks in different parts of the body, allowing that breath to be completely free flowing through the, allowing the electromagnetic field to be free flowing, and allowing the sound to be free flowing. And then really you're floating around on the planet. Beautiful. That's where I'm heading. So I'm just here.
I mean, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
The sound is quite an interesting one. Stuart's talked a lot about it, but it's active. It's like it gives you information and it changes things. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So you can tune into an area and say, okay, so what sound's coming from there? Okay, so that's telling me a lot. It's like kind of stuck or whatever. But then you can work with that sound and change it and change it and change it and bring it up and bring it up and bring it up, or wherever it wants to go, to a more resonant, to a more harmony place. But so that's kind of one. I suppose we talked about the energy body. So you can experience the chakras on an energy body level, which is an amazing experience. Firstly, because most people we don't sit and experience ourselves in that way. Yet we are giving off this vibration, which can be measured in hertz frequency. It can be seen on Kirlian photos. It's there. It just is there.
Yeah.
But we don't think about it because we walk around in what we think is a solid body. So. That can be an amazing experience. And then there's also all the psychological aspects, all the emotional aspects of each chakra, which are almost different houses or mansions in ourselves, actually, as Carolyn Miss said the other day, different aspects of who we are. So we look into those aspects as well and see how it relates to our physical, emotional. And then we didn't even talk about spiritual yet. Yeah.
It's layered. Keep going.
So keep going.
Yeah, please.
And then all the layers are one as well. But it can be quite useful to take them apart. What should we say about the spiritual?
Well, I mean, I would say that's all. Again, you're talking about the layers, but that's all elements of the spiritual self, as it were.
It's like
that's what's
the
coming to me.
spiritual is the connection. It's the connectivity of what does this all mean? So we're energy. We're an energy body. Yes, we have emotions. Yes, we have a physical reality, but how do I weave a thread of meaning through that? What do I choose that all of that relates to on some kind of higher plane of this is what it's all about? Whether that is being in perfect vibration with myself so I can be and give love, receive love, whatever it might be. Yeah. Freeing ourselves to be that essence, to be the essence of who we are.
Be the essence of who we are, but and also simplistically understand that we are all of those elements. Because what I find and what I've seen through myself and so on is that whilst everybody's trying to understand what we are on an exterior perspective, as it were, you know, on the outside, trying to work it out like we said earlier in books and so on, we're not actually experiencing who we are or what we are. And you know, like you said, like you rightfully said, we're an energy field. We're not just a solid body. We've got an electromagnetic field that's pulsating 15. Well, I know that it can, as Chris Walton's brought to the table, is that, you know, and Bruce Lipton, is that, you know, it's like they can measure it's 15 foot, but probably beyond. You know, we know we've got these sound vibrations going on, and I mean, it's is it cymatics that can, you know, that measures sounds and so on. So we're becoming more aware of this, which is magnificent. But what I love as well is that when we're talking about the blocks in the body, what come up for me, which was magnificent recently, is that let's forget our names for a minute. Let's just forget who we think we are because of our name, because our name brings with it a hell of a lot of weight from our ancestors, our blueprint, our upbringing, our conditioned belief and programming.
It can be a label.
It can be a label, right? So exactly. So let's just forget that for a minute. Let's just outs that out the back with the shovel. Then come into this idea of being an energy field. Then come into this idea of that everything that shows up within your 50 trillion cells that are, you know, each have their own, you know, thinking, thought process, and everything that's happening as a whole organism is happening as an individual cell.
The galaxy that is you.
Right, the galaxy that is you within all of this. And then we start to connect to something that we're part of something that is so, you know, maybe this is sort of going spiritual, as it were. We're part and connected of this mass energy, which is the planet Earth, revolving around in space. And I think what's beautiful about that, is that we start to realise that if we do have blocks, like you rightfully said, emotionally or in our meridians and so on, then that actually shapes our body.
Yes.
So then you start to go, okay, so like you said, if I've got blocks here and I'm maybe getting a lot of pain in my stomach, and maybe I'm putting on a bit of weight, or I'm not releasing there, so I eat a lot more, or I treat my relationships a bit aggressively, or I'm not compassionate, or, you know, all of a sudden I'm arguing all the time, then that comes into your body, that comes into your energy field, and that makes up who you are. Does that make sense? I'm trying to sort of encapsulate that. So then if you start to play with that, as we harmonise, what's coming up for me is that if you harmonise yourself, so it's about the self-love, self-awareness, understanding your emotional blocks and so on, then you can see how you have an effect on the whole
around you.
Yeah.
So from understanding yourself, you understand your relationship to your environment. Actually, you understand your environment a lot more, because it is connected to you, it is part of you, that we are the macrocosm and the microcosm of the universe. So having that understanding, is this where you're going with it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just sort of like going, I don't know where I'm going. I never really know where I'm going, I just go. Yeah, it's just moving, like you said, moving into something, because it's when I think something come up for me when you said, yeah, we're not just this idea of being this solid thing.
So something popped and went.
Yeah. So no, and also, and it's also like, you know, we are actually, you know, you talk about the breath is everything as well. We are actually breathing with everything.
So we've exchanged however many atoms and molecules in this conversation. Yeah, and our hearts are connecting because we're in this space anyway. And I loved what you said about the hands. So if we hold hands, for example, like with the chakra, so you're doing that, and it's magnificent that you're saying that that's connected to your heart. So instantly we're touching, and what comes up for me, and this is really simple for people listening, is that's naturally why everybody, when they're in love or think they're in love, go, let's hold hands. Simple thing. And it feels good when you hold hands, although most men don't like to hold hands. It's like, I'm not holding hands. I'm a man, you know. It can also feel very intimate because of that. So touch is a really intimate thing, and it's something which we sometimes, coming back to the labels, we touch in certain ways. So is it a friendly touch or a sexual touch or all of these different, but actually just the nature of touch and touching with love, it can be totally free. So you get rid of the label of it, and it's actually just a sharing of connection, an appreciation of the other person or the other animal or the other tree or the whatever it might be. And then when you come in that appreciation, when you come in that connection, you're not demanding anything, there's no agenda with it. It's just a kind of a being with that touch. When you be with that touch, you get to experience the other thing instead of experiencing the picture of what you think the other thing is. Like your boyfriend. Actually, no, he has a name, and or girlfriend or whatever it might be. It opens up, and then when you have that sense of not expecting anything and not having an agenda, you walk into an unknown space. And when you walk into the unknown space, you receive information. So that's the space from which your intuition can work as well. It's a loving space where you kind of acceptingly going, okay, so I'm here, and what else is here? I want to reach out to you, I want to experience this environment. And then it has the space to respond, because we're not demanding what it might be. So I think that's what I feel when I get people to connect with their hands and connect in that way, is that there's an opening to what could happen, what they could feel. Beyond what we're, like you said about the labels, beyond what we're perceiving or conditioned to think, you know? So again, touch can take on a whole completely different meaning, can't it now? And it has done just in this conversation for me. Because, you know, I know we touch everything, and that's our first initial, sometimes our first initial contact, isn't it? To an animal, a tree, the grass, or, you know, it's the first thing we do. Oh, that feels lovely. And it's funny that we sort of connect that to our mind and thinking, but actually we're also connecting to our heart, aren't we? Instantly, because the heart has a memory and has a you know, has a brain of its own, as it were, you know. 40,000 neurotransmitters worth. There are occasions
there you go.
when
to be precise.
The Institute of Heart Math is amazing if you come across them, and they talk about the heart brain. They call it the heart brain. That there are many occasions when the heart tells the brain what to do, and then the brain tells the body what to do. It's an endocrine gland. It's producing hormones, and it produces oxytocin.
Yes, you know, the love drug,
to much higher levels than the brain, much higher. So the heart-to-heart connection is real. It's a real information source, and the place of connection. And even more interesting, you go into people like John Melchizedek, and he talks about the sacred space of the heart, and going really deeply into the center of our being. And he says this is the place where all creation happens. And he talks about it very scientifically in the toroidal field, and it's the same as the Earth's field. And when you get to the very center of it, that is the point where all energy that ever was recycles and comes through the heart. Through this area, So that, this is my paraphrasing of him, but it's a very special place. Which I mean, which again, we know that even if you want to say that you're unconscious or you're disconnected or you're even having a bad time, fundamentally, people that are depressed, people that are anxious, you know, the point is we all know about that feeling of the heart, don't we? Whether it be from the hug of the person that we don't actually need, you know, it's like there's an intuitive knowing, isn't there, about this whole heart, because it doesn't matter what walk of life you're on, what culture you're from, what background you are, what color you are, what nationality you are, none of that. The universal language is the heart, you know, and it's also not even anything revolutionary. It's clear to see, isn't it? You can just see it in everything. I mean, even to the point where I feel that we've also, I suppose as a species, sometimes I do look at it as we've forgotten that. We've taken that for granted. We've neglected that. And it's this idea of love that has got almost masqueraded as fear, because everybody, maybe taking on what John Velo's mentioned, is that everybody's knowing that they've got that feeling, this knowingness that we are connected to the heart, through the heart. It's the essence of all that is. Yet that's almost like where we're trying to get back to, you know, when everybody talks constantly about think our way into the heart.
Do you see what I mean? But we do need to feel our way into the heart. Do you see what I mean? Because it's like everyone talks about, we've forgotten, don't they? I know in this sort of esoteric world, it's like we've just forgotten everything. It's like but sometimes that's a bit too much for people. It's like, well, what have we forgotten? It was like, well, everyone's seeking love, but fundamentally we're almost seeking love in all the wrong places as well. In relation to the fact that it's weighted now with fear, as it were. There's a lot of fear, isn't there? I don't know about your own path, but there's a lot of, and I call it disabling fear as well, because fear can actually be quite productive and quite
it's an energy.
It serves
a purpose if you're willing to be with it. And if you're willing to kind of be conscious whilst you're feeling terrified, whatever it might be.
And going back to what you said, don't judge it, don't label it, no right or wrong, good or bad, but just feel it, be there with it.
Otherwise, there's another great channel called Bashar. I don't know if you've come across him, but he talks about
that Bashar.
He didn't do that when I saw him, but I can get the sound of the voice. He's very deep. And he talks about, you know, if you ignore your fear, you're undoing your step to the next place. Fear is an energy.
It's a guidance.
And you can work with that energy. It's just whether it's your energy is running through you, and sometimes you experience it as fear, and you can also experience it as love. So how do you move into that energy? How do you work with it in a way which feels okay for you?
Wonderful. And if love is everything as well, because that's some of the
breath, the
vibration, the breath, the life, and everything. So we're talking about love now, you know, not just as the label of the word, but just this connection to the essence of everything. If we're talking about that, then we're actually saying that the fear and all this other emotions that we're experiencing and rejecting is actually love and life and everything as well. So if we actually be with that, we can almost, through an alchemical process, transmute that into what it is we are, through just allowing acceptance and joy, rather than going, oh, I resist it, you put me in fear, and just start shooting everybody, you know. I'm just like, you know, spitting on Claire now, you know, because it's getting excited. But do you see what I mean? Because it's like, it's almost like we take the fear, we get the experience of, you know, the fight or flight, then we get angry, then we feel we have to attack. Whereas what you've just shared is that, well, actually, if we sit with that fear, understand where it's coming from, maybe connect to the body, where is it, where am I with this, can free it up.
It's what you described and what you demonstrated was reaction.
Yes, reaction.
So it's just, okay, something's happened to me, I need to do something. Whereas response or responsibility, it's the same thing. It's being able to sit and say, okay, so how do I want to respond? And I'm taking responsibility for how I want to act.
Yes.
I was actually talking about it in the kitchen with your mum earlier.
There you go.
And about when we can walk into spaces, and even if you just walk into a space and it can feel heavy, you walk into a room and there's all these people and it can be overwhelming. And you can react to that and just go, I have to be out of here, I can't do this, I'm far too spiritual for this, whatever it might be.
I've got to leave.
Or we can just be conscious. So I think it is one stage to be sensitive, be really sensitive to our environment, that's great, but also just being conscious about how we want to respond to that sensitivity. So do I respond, if I experience fear, do I respond with fear? Or I think about if I walk into a space, you know, we've all walked into a space and you feel an energy of a room, and it's great if that energy feels light and wonderful and joyful, and you walk into another room and it feels sad and heavy and dark. What do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do in that space?
Yeah.
And if I think about it as if I was seeing a friend, I might see that friend one day and that friend is joyful and happy, etc. And I might see them another day and they're maybe feeling quite depressed and quite sad, and they don't want me to run away. They want me to be with them and just to be there, and to be there as a loving presence, and say, you know, sounds like you're feeling a bit sad, tell me more. And be able to hold a space.
Hold a space without being drawn into the, I'm not going to call it unconsciousness, but be drawn into it and then react to it, you know, like get pulled into the drama, as it were. Does that
I'm coming back to the sound I did, as
Please.
It's choosing your vibration, choosing your sound, choosing where you're at, and then being okay to work with the world wherever they're at.
Yeah, first.
Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. So again, but then that's taking also the responsibility, the response to first, which a lot of people are saying, connect to who you are and how you feel through unblocking yourself, making sure you've done the inner work. I call it inner work, which is very much about looking within who you are, where your blocks are and so on, which I'm constantly working on mine. And as I've rightfully said, with the breathing and the rebirthing and the chakras, we was going to come to your workshop at the weekend, you know, and it's like, it's very much about taking ownership of yourself, you know, first, isn't it? Because everybody wants to change the world, create peace on earth, and, you know, save everybody else and tell everybody else what they should and shouldn't do. And I mean, I went through a process of that. I'm very much like, you know, you need to do this. And being a personal trainer as well at the time, it's like, you're unhealthy, get to the gym, you know, drink water, do these things. I mean, I suppose I'm still in a sense sharing that, but not from a place of like, you have to. It's like, play with it. Go within, look at your emotional blocks, you know? An
alternative perspective, or have you thought about that?
Have you thought about it?
For me, that's also how you want to talk to yourself.
Yes, totally.
So if I tell myself, I should go to the gym, I should work out more, I should do this, and there's another part of me going, should? You know, I don't want to do this. Don't talk to me like that. And so I take all of that conversation, and as you said, it's all internal, but if we're talking to the outside world like that, then we're probably talking to ourselves like that. So it's
the reflection, isn't it? It's that whole thing that we see in others what we don't see in ourselves, and then we're also talking to others, but we're actually talking to ourselves. I often say to people when they're sharing stuff and I'm sharing stuff with them and we're having quite an elevating experience, it's like I often say, you know, you're not talking to me, you're talking to yourself. And they go, oh no, don't say that, that's freaking me out. That's scaring me. But it's true, isn't it? Like when I'm talking, it's them talking through me often, and vice versa, as this sort of like, you know, collective healing, sharing, you know, growth, which is really powerful. There's something I wanted to, something came to me and I didn't share. It was when you said, did you have something? Were you going to say something?
No, carry on. No. I'll come back to what I was going to say.
You remember it? Yeah, remember. It was when you said, should we touch on the non-reacting? Because I think that's really powerful that you brought that up. The reason being because I've, you know, delved into the Vipassana meditation.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that?
I have done Vipassana.
Did we speak about that?
Not yet.
I don't think we have we? Okay, so with the Vipassana meditation, it's very much the equanimity, which is non-reaction. you know. So whilst you're meditating and you're in and you're feeling the sensations in your body, and you're going in there and you're realizing there's blocks, and you're feeling the breath as it's coming up through your whole cells and so on, and you're noticing there's a block in your knee or whatever, and it's getting quite painful, and you're like, why is that so painful? You know, it's like I'm not even sitting in any awkward position, and you know, you're going through this process. It's all about the non-reaction, because the minute you react, you take your focus there, which takes you out of this sort of almost allowing space, isn't it? Which then creates resistance, conflict, and you know, it's actually called, what's it called? They're called not samsara, is it? It's samsara, isn't it? The pain is the actual pain and the blockage.
The pain.
Is it called samsara?
It could be.
I think it, yeah. I mean,
it's just sensation, isn't it? And what came to me as I was hearing you speak is reaction is to react. To redo another act that's the same. It's like a pattern, right? React, yes. So react what you've done, circle, 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 karma. Whereas respond is the point at which you can step out of that pattern and say, I'm free. Yeah, I don't need to go through that cycle again. I can respond how I want. I have choice. Whereas to react is I don't have any choice. I'm stuck in this pattern and I'll continue to react. Which happens for most people, and then we can take that into addiction, habitual non-serving cycles, which I'm sure you've been in some of those. I have. I've been in a fair few destructive cycles, which are, you know, have taken ages to be aware. Yeah. It's like the alcoholic that until they realise themselves that they're the alcoholic, they can't break that. No, you can't break it. Cycle, can they? No. This is the reaction. Oh, I have a drink. Well, I only have a drink when I smoke, and then I drink 10. Oh yeah, but that's, you know, it's something that I just do. And then that comes all back to consciousness and presence and awareness, that first stage, in order to not be able to react or change it. Yeah. Which I think what helps for me in that, the place of awareness is also to be very loving with it. So to have a loving awareness. I don't know whether they say that specifically in Vipassana, but it brings a quality of empathy, I think, which for me shifts things quicker. Not that we're trying to shift things, but it allows things to flow quicker. It has the attention, which is more loving. Yeah, it allows. It's the allowing that's key, isn't it? The awareness and the allowing. You know? The words are actually, they're really quite powerful, because maybe people listening to this as well, there's a lot of people, because there's I don't know if you've heard of the Sedona method. Yes. You have? Yes. Synchronistic things. Me and Claire have so much in common. 2 weeks ago, actually. 2 weeks ago? Yeah. Okay. So again, the Sedona method, for people listening to this as well, is very much just about letting go. But I mean, even letting go of the idea of letting go. To the point where, you know, letting go of the idea that you even need to heal yourself, letting go. Do you see what I mean? Or letting go of the idea that you're even in pain, even though that you're feeling pain and experiencing pain. Let go of the idea that you're there. And it's just funny that, you know, I've only, again, it's something that's quite recent, and I've sort of delved. I'm not going to start saying that I'm a complete, but for me it's all about these same things that pop up. Sedona, Vipassana, chakra, tarot, healing, Reiki, Theta has that. Theta's a combination of a number of different things, you know. Then you go, you know, sound healing, vibration. So you really, what I want to share on the sofa and to people listening to this is that whichever one you're doing that works for you, great. Magical, wonderful, and also understand that they're all communicating from this same source that me and Claire are sharing today, which is very much just that connection to what John Velo's saying and other people, the connection of the essence of who we are. Yeah. The love, the you know, the heart, aren't they? Would you? Yeah, I would agree. And so the Sedona one, the Theta one, it's also undoing the brain to rest a body thing, or thought to rest a body, and the reaction as well is it's all coming from actually a thought of fear or a pattern of fear, but when you can undo that, then you can just experience the things directly rather than through the lens of a thought. I was thinking about this the other day with the difference between fantasy and imagination. Okay. People ask me this in intuition quite a lot of, well, am I just making it up? Now on a deeper level you could say, yes you are. Yeah. That is the point. Yeah, your imagination, whatever you perceive is what you're creating. But then fantasy, which is what they're really saying, is like, am I making this up, but it's not really true, is a locked in thought pattern. it's quite narrow. So if you have my experience of fantasy, if I go off in fantasy or daydream about something, is that there is a thought or an image that I keep going to and I keep going to because I want something from it. So maybe it's the opposite of reaction. So it's the
no, but
being
it's a
attached.
wanting. It's a wanting.
It's
It's attachment. Yes.
Yeah. And so maybe it's, I don't know, fantasizing about a person or wanting them in your life or whatever it might be. That perfect relationship. That's a good one. Yeah. We all know that one. And that almost it becomes that thought is enabling you to experience a feeling.
Yes, totally.
So you go to that fantasy so that you can experience the feeling of love.
Yeah.
Or the possibility of happiness.
Yeah.
Or wealth if you want to be rich, or all of that kind of stuff. Except actually there's no reality in that because it's a concept, and there's no reality in the concept, which is, you know, the idea of that perfect person to the point where you might miss whoever that person is.
And it's safety. That's like a safety mechanism as well, isn't it?
It's not, yes. You
it's
can
like,
hold tight.
I can control that. So actually it's controlling, which again is fear. And
you can't get out of fantasy, if you notice that. It repeats and it repeats, and if you want to get it out of your head, it's still there because it has that control, it has that pattern which is locked in. Where imagination is completely different. You open yourself to think, oh, that would be interesting. Where will that go? And then you wait and you stop. And then a picture appears or an image appears. And it has this, or a person, and it's completely free. It has a freedom to it. A
freedom to evolve and grow and go where it needs to go.
Yeah, you walk into it unknown.
Yeah.
And you experience it with your body, with your emotions, with your sensations all at the same time. Do you see what I mean?
Totally.
Whereas with the fantasy, you start with a fantasy and you try and create the emotion, which is what you're wanting to experience. And you could go the other way and say, well, okay, so I want to feel love. I want to know what it feels like to be wealthy or to be worthy or to be successful. So just be with that. Be with the feeling of love, or be with the feeling of worth or success. Yeah. And the fantasy will no longer be needed because you'll work through. And
you'll create that which you wanted in the fantasy anyway, which the fantasy is actually blocking. Because often we take the fantasy into our relationships and then we create judgment, expectation and condition because they're not to the standard of our fantasy that we've created because we're the creators of that fantasy. Whereas with imagination, you can imagine it's the be, do, have, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, it's the be, do, have rather than the have, do, be. You know, and the fantasy is very much the have, do, be. When I've got all this, I'm gonna, you know, do what I need to do and be who I want to be. Whereas it's like, no, be who you are now, and then from that magnetism that you've become, you create that which you are. Yes. And then you attract everything that you would like to experience from that. Yes. That resonance of energy.
Yeah, if I am happy, then I have what happy people have. I do what happy people do.
Yeah.
Whereas if I don't know, if I have the perfect car, it doesn't have the same. Yeah. You can't do that pattern, or it's the other way. As if, you know, I haven't got the perfect car, therefore I can't be happy, and I'm not going to do the things that happy people do. So we'll create it in that direction too. It's very true. Yeah.
So it's like flipping. It's like sometimes I say, or my own exploration. Everything's very much been about the sort of flipping things. Flipping reality upside down. I call it flip the pancake. That's my, you know, my little analogy and breakdown. Flipping the pancake, because it's like less is more. You know, the more you have, the more you know, the less you understand. You know, it's very much like let go to receive. You know, and like what you're saying, you know, be to have. It's like, no, I must have to be.
Well, take another one, for example. So I call them intuitive gifts.
Okay.
Same thing, flipping the pancake. So how would my fear be an intuitive gift?
Yes.
How would my block be an intuitive gift? How would all those voices that we hear in our bed telling we're not good in our head, in our bed, in our head.
In your bed as well sometimes, we're just not good enough. When you wake up in the morning, yeah, this can work. It works.
I'm not good enough, I can't be successful. How can they be a gift?
Yeah.
Because they tell us something we've missed, and so we could sit with them and see where they take us.
Yeah, which means that, you know, it's something.
And it is about the sitting, it's with the being with it. So we be with our experience, and then it can evolve from there.
Own everything and love everything. So actually, rather than judge everything, love everything.
Yeah.
So rather than go, I've got no money, oh, that means I'm crap, I'm worthless, my life's over, I can't do anything in my life. Think, well, what can you do from that space? You know, what do you actually, what is it, the money that you want, for example, which everybody seems to be craving so much because they think money's going to solve everything, or is it the things that you want from the money?
Yeah.
And if it's the things that you want from the money, you don't always attract them how you think you're going to attract money. Because I mean, take me for example, I attract
a very narrow route.
It's a very narrow route if you just go for the money.
Yeah.
I mean, my life's just full of abundance, and it's not about having money.
Yeah.
But meeting the people and the opportunities that come up and the possibilities that are showing themselves are very much about being in the vibration of transparency, truth, authenticity and love.
Yeah.
And it really is then attracting, we spoke about this last night, funnily enough, about, do you remember, about the attracting what you are? Yeah. Because often people, and I've, you know, a few people have broken down when I've shared this with them, is that they go to me, "Oh, my life's crap. I'm attracting such a horrible guy in my life, and you know, or partner. You know, why is everything so hard? You know, and why am I just attracting scum?" And I said, "Well, you attract what you are." And it's like, you know, that often brings a lot of emotion, because it's like, what?
That's how I think about myself.
Yeah, I am that, which I hate. Yeah. It's like, well, you probably are hating yourself right now. So you're attracting more of what is hating you, because your reflection, your mirror is showing you who you are. And that's just, you know, that's a complete different perspective that is just some people are just not open to.
Yeah, there's a whole area that I want to go into more and do more workshops on these things, called making friends with your reflection.
Yes.
The whole purpose of it.
Yes.
And I mean, I expect you've done that mirror exercise where you're just looking in the mirror and looking at yourself and experiencing yourself and seeing what's there in all of its different states. It's interesting to do it if you're in a deep sadness, or if you're in a deep joy and, oh my God, I never knew I looked like that. Or whoever I is, but it kind of goes to a whole different level, Totally,
that's really powerful. Well, we touched on a lot there. So, did you share what you was going to share? Do you remember what that was? And it doesn't matter if you didn't, but I'm just feeling, and one thing that I loved, which we might, if you want to share this, and let me know if you're feeling anything different, is that, do you remember you said to me, part of your transformation, I just want to talk about us as individuals, as our own, breaking down our own things, because we've obviously broken down a lot of our own blocks and you know, conditioning, haven't we? I know that I have.
Yes,
and I'm sure you have, in order to even connect to what you're connecting to, and as anybody else has. So one of the things that you had a massive realization of energy, which I've done some of the whole, you know, playing with the energy, which was really, you know, really powerful. But that was one of your realizations that sort of changed your
it just shifted what it was to be human.
Yeah.
I think what you were saying about everything existing up here in the brain, and so what happened for me was I had experiences of other people giving me healing when I was younger or whatever, and I always thought only special people could do that. Only special people could do that kind of thing. And then I went, and I was doing a corporate job, and I went and worked out in China. And while I was out there, I thought, no one knows me here. I can do whatever I want. It's okay. And I mean, it's interesting because you see the things, you know, if no one did know you, if no one knew you was walking down the street, what would you do?
Yeah.
It's an amazing freedom. It's like, you don't have to worry about succeeding or failing.
Yeah.
It's a big block for everyone. It's like, if you can get rid of that block, you're doing really well. I was in a foreign place where everyone does things differently, and everything that I do is quite weird. So that's another thing, is you take off all your cultural norms, cultural expectations, and then from there it's like, okay, so what do I want to do? And it's that real sense of, what am I genuinely attracted to? Not something I need or not something I'm attached to, but what do I feel that that feels really interesting, what would I like to do? And I ended up learning Reiki. So that was five years ago and I remember doing, in Reiki you're attuned, so you receive an attunement to this energy force. It just kind of opens up your energy centers so you can receive it, and once it's done, it's done. When that attunement happened, and then afterwards I was just feeling my hands, and I just put my hands here, and so this energy came out of my hands, and it totally overrode any concept about who I could be or what I was, because I was experiencing something completely fresh that I'd never experienced before, but was tangible.
Yeah,
and that
on an experiential level, there and then for you.
Exactly, and it continues to blow my mind. Like the first time you give someone else a healing, and you work over their body, and you're like, oh, I feel something here, and like, I've had an injury there for ages, or when a healing can happen in that way, or the first time you give a distance healing, which is also perfectly possible. So it's quite helpful if you live in China to be able to give healing to people in England distance, obviously. And also it's the middle of the night, so you just do it when they're asleep, and then they wake up in the morning and they feel completely different. They've had their first night's sleep in ages, and all of these things just open up. Okay, we're more.
Another world.
We are so much more.
Another, yeah, totally.
And there's so much more possibility, and that's really exciting. So why would I choose my narrow rational mind?
Yeah.
Why? Safety.
It's fear.
That's why I would choose it. Now I have that opening. But it's not interesting enough.
Yeah, totally.
So you have to go into it, and for me the way into that is intuition and experience. I mean, they're the same, I think. Well, they're not the same, but being an experiencer, like my engagement with life being about, well, what's my experience now?
Yeah, what's my experience to life?
Yeah, and that can be obviously quite subjective, so it is useful to learn about other things, except those still have to be understood from the point of my centre.
Mm.
So one of the things I do, coming back to the hand sensing, I did it with the book you had earlier,
yeah, you did.
was I feel a book. That's my sense, so I'll touch it and it will give a push off, and I'll know what that feels like, or I hold it to my heart, because it's a way of engaging with the world which isn't just about the rational but is very, very real. Mm. Yeah.
So that connected you to something, like you say, beyond your perceived imagination, beyond your reality.
Yes.
And then so that was 5 years ago, and then from that 5 years you've been obviously you're a Reiki master now, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you've gone into the chakras, and you've gone into the meridians and the energy and so on. Just really all about that energy healing, right?
Energy healing is a massive part of it. I think that as you said, it's not on its own. So the emotional piece comes in. I also do life coaching and things, but it's all of those bodies. I think if it was just energy, then it's just energy.
Yeah.
But actually it relates to our emotional self. It allows me to be more of who I am. It connects me to a deeper sense of who I am. Yeah. And that's why it's important. Yeah. That's why it's valuable to me, yeah. And
that's now your passion, to share that to one and all.
Yeah.
And you're sharing today on the sofa with one and all, which is magical. So yeah, that was fascinating for me, because I think what you know, part of the sofa and bringing this awareness to people is very much not to say that we've worked anything out. I think it's not about working anything out. It's about connecting to what is really there. Yeah, more and more, because this is an infinite journey, you know, and you know, and we're, you know, if you go with a lot of the knowledge, you know, we're a speck in the evolving, you know, if you want to go by some of the people sharing that it's a 16.4 billion, you know, cycle that we're just evolving, and we're a speck, but there is something opening up now, maybe more than ever. Some of this information does go back 6,000 years, doesn't it? You know, we're talking about Vedic information and so on, and we're all just sharing this, but there is now a way to really free yourself, I think. And that's what these conversations do for me. They just expand my reality. And I think that there's a way for you to free yourself from the limiting beliefs, the limiting program, the disabling fear and dysfunction. And like we've rightfully said in this wonderful conversation, is about, you know, taking ownership of that pain and suffering, and actually being with that fear, and allowing that to become, through like an alchemical process, allow that to become a beautiful experience. Would you agree? Is there anything you want to share, just to encapsulate anything that we've done, because we're coming to a close? Is there anything that you feel that, you know, because I know we could, I mean, me and Claire could talk, and we're going to talk again. We're going to be doing some stuff together. You're going to see us doing a lot more stuff together. But we could take wants, for example. We could take desires. We could take, you know, a lot of what we touched on today. I hope that this has encapsulated some of it for you. But we could take each of those areas and probably, couldn't we, really work with those in how they show up in your life, and can disable you, but also can elevate you.
Well, I have one suggestion.
Please.
That comes to me is, you're talking about this shift from trying to know it all, trying to have all the information, using our brain to do it, and moving to a point of, no, it's about connection. It's about what we're experiencing now, what we have to share now, what's happening now on the sofa.
Yes.
Right? So wouldn't it be lovely if people created sofa moments in their life?
Sofa moments.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So in the same way, because we've just been having a conversation.
Yes.
And sharing, and it's on film. That's fine, and hopefully it's useful for people in some way. But I'd love it to inspire people to have sofa moments.
Beautiful.
With their friends.
I love it.
With their partner, with their family, whoever it would be. To have, and what that means is to have a real conversation. So not what you're up to today,
Yeah.
Where you go in.
Yeah, they're nice jeans.
This is my label, I do this job, blah, 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 I'm going to be doing this to-do list. We all have to-do lists, they should stay on paper. But to actually say, hi, I'm here. Are you here? Are you with me? What's going on for you? What are you feeling right now? And you might not know what you're feeling, because you might not have thought all day about what you're feeling.
But take that sofa moment.
But take it to go, okay, I'm feeling pretty calm. I'm interested in being here with you, whatever it might be, you know, and seeing where that goes, because that would be amazing if people just took 5 or 10 minutes after seeing this to go and have a sofa moment with a friend.
Wonderful. I think I got tingles. When I get tingles, some call it the Kundalini. I just call it ecstasy, e-rush I call it. It's just a pure tingle. There you go, sofa moments. So that's what we've created from this talk. So have a sofa moment. Yeah, talk to somebody you love, somebody you don't love, and sit on the sofa and just be there. Be there and see what comes up. Talk about your body, talk about your life, talk about this experience, and share. Sharing's caring. I've been saying that for years. Okay, I'm going to get a beautiful heart to heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful. There you go, guys. This is Clare Russell. As always, you can look at the page and you know, look at her beautiful website and the stuff that she's up to. And other than that, these talks are all about you. They're all about me as well. This has been really elevating for me, but they're about you taking responsibility for who you really are and knowing that you're not alone. You are not alone. And also, I just want to say at the end of this video, this is something new, but please look at the site. I have a page at the bottom of the site called Gifts. On there, I'm looking for certain people now to team up with me on the sofa, and there's often going to be notices on there about things that we're looking for and so on. And if you feel like this has been a gift to you and you'd like in any way to share your gifts or anything that you'd like to contribute to the sofa, then you can read up on that page. So, Clare, I'm going to let you say goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for this time today, and I wish you many sofa moments. Yeah.